We are here talking to Mikal Belicove. He is an author, blogger, entrepreneur. I mean, you are a columnist for Entrepreneur Magazine, wrote The Complete Idiot's Guide to Facebook. I mean, you know everything when it comes to social media and entrepreneurship. And you're coming to town, Pittsburgh, PA, on February the 12th. Here at at our technology headquarters here. We're so excited to have you. You're going to be talking about the 5 rules that you never learned about as an entrepreneur. And I cannot encourage people enough to attend this thing and learn from, one of the top guys in the field. So first off, are you excited about coming to Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? A Permanente sandwich? Why wouldn't I be excited? The only thing that's actually unexciting about it is that we won't be able to celebrate a Pittsburgh Steelers win in the Super Bowl because, as we all know, they got completely ripped off during the playoffs. But
we know that. We don't
have to go there. We can talk about it and deal with that once we're there. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to coming to Pittsburgh on the 12th of February to talk to your group about the, I have a list of rules that I've created over the years.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship that you never learned that you need to know, and I'm excited to share some of this.
How did you create these rules? How did these come to you? Obviously, you're seeing people that are probably screwing things up all the time, not doing things right, and you kind of develop this list.
Sure, you see that, but then you also have first-hand experience at screwing things up. And I certainly am not one to shy away from the mistakes that I've made in the past. So I started businesses, I've sold businesses, I've had some successes, I've had some dramatic failures. And so there are a number of things that I've learned over time, working for myself, running teams, working for others, working for large corporations, and for the last 8 years or so, writing about entrepreneurship, tips, tricks, strategies, and warnings. You just sort of develop these kind of things.
Absolutely. What I like is it seems like you're going to be very open about the failures and the things that you've done wrong because that's how you've learned. And in Pittsburgh, we're trying to develop more of a culture that it's okay to fail and you learn from that and you get better from it. And I think you're going to bring some of that to your conversation. Is that true?
Yeah, so actually, let me jump right in. So
sure.
I'm going to go through 5. I'm just going to kind of wet the tongue a little bit with some ideas here.
Give us a little taste of what we can expect.
Yeah, I'm going to go through 5 rules today that I'm not going to go over while I'm there because I'm going to go over today. And the first one really touches on what you just said, which is that we give ourselves permission to fail. That's what I heard you say. That's maybe not the exact way that you said it.
Right.
For me, that relates to my number 1 rule associated with entrepreneurship. Let me just move something off my screen here.
Do it, man.
Which is that I don't believe you should call yourself an entrepreneur.
Interesting. Because a lot of people like to say that.
Yeah. We like to think about ourselves as entrepreneurs, and it's cool and it's hip, and we get to wear certain kinds of clothes and hang around with certain kinds of people and go to certain kinds of meetings. But when we think about entrepreneurs, we tend to think about people like Steve Jobs and Richard Branson and the folks that show up on Shark Tank, those that show up on the cover of magazines like our own, Forbes magazine or Entrepreneur magazine. But the reality is that the difference between you and an entrepreneur, and you being the person that's actually watching this today, is that you actually do work. And if you think that Richard Branson is sitting back, with his hand on his desk like this and pouring over financials and dealing with hiring decisions and setting up an organization, you're sorely mistaken. So the difference between you and an entrepreneur is that you're actually working. And I recognize that this audience is technology-based,
sure.
So you're either a coder, you're a visionary, but you have a company to run, and that's essentially what it is. And so there's this myth of the entrepreneurial personality that I wanted to talk with you about, and that's that the entrepreneur is a risk taker, that the entrepreneur is an eternal optimist, that they never give up. And that they're a self-promoter, and that if you have these kinds of personality traits, that you are perfect for entrepreneurship. But starting or buying a business is entrepreneurial, but at some point the person who calls him or herself an entrepreneur is a little more than just a business owner. And that's what I really like people to focus on. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and that's the distinction you really should be focusing on, because the purpose of being in business is to make money.
Make money. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And then you spend. And to do that, you have to focus on certain business principles, not the label you use to describe yourself or the approach.
Interesting.
So that's my number 1 rule. Don't call yourself an entrepreneur.
That kind of sets a foundation for you then right there, because that's going to basically drive the way you behave in the decisions that you make.
It really does. Are you a poser? Are you someone who just likes to play entrepreneur, or are you somebody who really cares about running a business and providing a return on investment either for yourself, your investors, your employees, whoever your stakeholders are? There are basic business principles that when you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, if you didn't come out of an educational system where your degree is in entrepreneurship and you have the basics of business, then you're really just playing entrepreneur at some level, unless you've got the right advisors.
Sounds legit. So what's next on your list?
So the next one would be that next rule that I have is that your mental health matters.
Your mental health matters. I like the sounds of this.
Yeah, the health and well-being of every small business starts with its owner. And unfortunately, businesses that are mentally unhealthy, they suffer from many of the same things that entrepreneurs with ADD and ADHD suffer from.
Yes, this is making a lot of sense.
Namely, they're delusional. In
Delusional.
In spite of and sometimes because of previous successes or just dumb luck. And so my message here is that if you're lacking focus because of ADHD and ADD, it's going to find itself in the fact that you're continuing to pursue multiple opportunities and changing direction at a moment's notice. You're making the people around you absolutely crazy. And if this sounds remotely familiar, it's really time to talk to someone who's trained in helping people calm their mind and focus on the things that really matter.
Absolutely.
And the reason why this matters is because your employees, your vendors, your partners, they've all got skin in your game. And so you have to take true ownership in your business and basically make sure that you're healthy enough to run it in a way that it deserves to be run on a daily basis. And I'm sure there are people listening to this now or watching this now that can resonate with working for somebody who is constantly changing course and changing direction, listens to the latest person who's whispering in their ear, and is more focused on calling themselves an entrepreneur and playing the entrepreneur game of setting up an office and setting up a team rather than really running a business.
I hear you. No, that's very sound advice. Very sound advice. I like the way this is really focusing on people taking a really level attitude and being calm and in control to get a business guided and running. Because you said at the end of the day, it's about making money, not just wearing a name and being kind of schizophrenic about it. So what's next on your list here? This is getting good.
And also to that point, when you realize that other people have skin in your game and that you're responsible for so much more than just your own title, the world can come crashing down pretty easily if you're not mentally prepared to handle that.
Absolutely. Be mentally prepared. Good points here. Good points. What's next?
So the next one is one of the reasons why I actually chose to come in and speak to your group, because as I looked at your agenda of items that you promote how to and not why to topics. And so my next rule is seek how to, avoid why to.
Okay.
What I mean by this is picture maybe a TV commercial or a radio commercial that you've heard where it says, May 18th, get motivated, business seminar featuring Rudy Giuliani, Bill Cosby, Joe Montana, Lou Holtz, Stanley McChrystal, Colin Kaepernick.
Bill Cosby's there, I gotta go, right? Come on.
Or Bush and Donald Trump. Of course, you can't have a get motivated business seminar without Donald Trump. My message here is that this why to motivational stuff really ultimately becomes a crutch. People often think that inspiration doesn't last. And so they rationalize always going for inspiration by saying, well, a shower doesn't last, I do it every day. So inspiration, I'm going to go get my inspiration every day too. And I'm not talking about popping onto Facebook and checking out a popular meme that gives you a quote of the day, or even over at Forbes magazine at the top of our website, we have a kind of an inspirational thought up on the top left-hand corner. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really spending your hard-earned money going to seminars where the real only purpose of these events is to sell you product from the back of the room.
Right.
If Joe Montana and Bill Cosby and Lou Holtz and Stanley and McChrystal were so successful in business, they would be running their businesses all day long and they wouldn't spend any time trying to teach anyone else how to do it. We see ads on TV from people claiming to help you learn how to flip houses. We see all kinds of motivational seminars and how-to seminars that really are shills. And so I encourage entrepreneurs, business owners, to seek advice around how to and not the inspirational why to. There should be a healthy balance.
PTC does this, and that's why we're stoked to have you here, because, like I said, as you're arming us right now, you're going to get people some real stuff that they can leave with to really change the way they're running their businesses to make them more successful.
Yeah. So the next one that I want to talk to you about is this notion that opportunity doesn't necessarily equal profit.
Okay. That's
And
interesting, yeah.
a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in the tech space are chasing something that they see as an opportunity, but not all opportunities are commercially feasible. And you just have to take a look at something as simple as hydrogen. It seems like the perfect alternative fuel for cars until you begin to examine the cost of producing it, the challenges of building infrastructure to distribute and store it, the high cost of fuel cells. So someday that's an opportunity that may become profitable, but right now it's more like a science project.
Exactly.
So there are 4 M's that I recommend that everyone use to determine an opportunity's probable profitability.
Right. Now, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to start taking some notes. This is going to be good. Tell us about these 4 areas.
All right, so the 4 M's, the first one is market, the second one is margin, the third one is methods, and the fourth one is management. And as you'll find, as you're looking at raising money from VCs for your business, you'll find that this is what they're looking at. So from a market standpoint, from a market standpoint, if I'm investing in a firm, I want to know that they offer something that people really need or that they really want. And I want to find out if it's anecdotal or empirical evidence that's suggesting that. And the reason for this is that because it's essentially reckless for a business to offer products or services where no market exists for them. And yet many business owners truly do this because they believe, I'm going to change the world. They're going to force their item onto the market rather than the market indicating a preference for something.
Absolutely.
The next M that I mentioned is margin.
Okay.
And you need to think of margin in 2 ways. There's margin is a key consideration for profit margin. If you can sell it for a decent profit, if you can't sell it for a decent profit, you're going to go out of business. And there's also the margin for failure, the room you have to make mistakes and still remain profitable.
I don't think people think about that one either as much. That's something that's always not in your mindset. To bring that up, I think, is very important.
Yeah, as an investor, that's what we're going to be looking at with your firm, which is what is your margin for failure and what is your ability to actually make a profit. So think of margin in 2 ways. The next thing that we're going to be looking at is method, and that's the how in your operation. Do you have a system where you have, chosen or imposed inputs? What are your methods, your processes, your approach, your strategy? What are the steps that you take when sticking with or adjusting your method, process, your approach, your strategy? And then finally, what are your results? Are they positive or are they negative? This is what I just described is called the systems approach. And there are lots of different approaches to how you run your business. But as an investor, that's another thing that we would be looking at. And then the fourth M would be management. And so the questions that any investor is going to want to look at, or you should be looking at in terms of thinking about a company to work with or partner with, is does management operate according to a philosophy that fosters stability? Does management develop and implement methods designed to consistently deliver high-quality products or services in a timely manner to that marketplace? Does management oversee operations properly to ensure that the methods are executed the right way? Does management develop reasonable and accurate predictions based on verifiable facts rather than opinions? And does management say no when it's in the best interest of the business to pursue opportunities that the business is ill-suited or ill-prepared to make profitable? These are really, really important considerations that every business needs to take when they're thinking about who their partners are, who their investors are going to be, who you're going to bring on board as your management. Or if you yourself are an investor, using those 4 M's is absolutely critical to the success of your investment.
Excellent stuff. I'm telling you what, you're giving us some really awesome stuff right now. I can't wait for you to get to Pittsburgh and tell us to build on this. So we got one more point left that you were talking about to kind of wrap up kind of the 5 things. So tell us, this is like the drum roll.
I'll give you one more, and it's absolutely amazing to me how many businesses get this wrong and just don't focus on this.
Okay.
And it's that you have to eat your own dog food.
Oh yeah.
And so, an example, in 1980, Apple's president, Mike Scott, wrote a memo that went out to everybody at Apple that's still infamous to this day that said, effective immediately, no more typewriters can be purchased or leased or used at Apple.
Huh.
He said, Apple is an innovative company, and we must believe and lead in all areas.
Okay.
Word processing is so neat, then let's all use it. His goal was that by January 1st, 1981, no typewriters at all at Apple. We believe that typewriters are obsolete. let's prove it inside before we try to convince our customers of it outside.
I never heard of that. Did they make the goal by January 1st, 1981? Were they typewriter free, do you know?
It's Apple. What do you think?
I would have to assume so.
So if you're not eating your own dog food, if you have a software development platform and you're not using that platform yourself, if you have an app that you've built for teenagers and you're not getting your nephews and your teenage kids to use it and you're not using it thinking like a teenager, if you have a drop ship fulfillment platform where you're helping small independent retailers connect with drop ship suppliers and manufacturers, and you yourself are not operating as a small independent retailer after work at night using your own platform, you're doomed for failure. You have to know how these products work, and the only way to know how they work is to get into the mind of the consumer and start acting like one and eat your own dog food in a sense.
Dog food. I love it, man. That is some freaking awesome advice. Those are 5 key chunks, but that's just the beginning. You are coming to Pittsburgh on February the 12th here at the Pittsburgh Technology Council to give our members and others more of this great stuff. We're excited to have you come here, Michael.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is that I'm going to be unveiling a methodology that I've codified for linking anything that happens inside of your organization on a daily basis back to a top line goal. And I've developed a process for this, and I've written about it a little bit. If people were to do a search on me, they might find something that I've written about this, but not by the particular name that I've given it. And the first time that I'm going to be talking about it is in Pittsburgh on the 12th.
Wow, this is exciting. I cannot wait for you to get here. We're about a month away, February the 12th. Mikal Belicove, we're looking forward to having you here.
Cheers. Thanks, Jeff.